If you get a suspicious email about being careful about suspicious emails, would you be suspicious? We'll get to that in a bit, but first, a story from Lil the Source. If you say so, I'll comply. In the end, we all get screwed. Tiny bit of pertinent information. In 2014, I had a C-section to bring my son into the world. I was let go from my previous job because they didn't want the liability if something happened to a pregnant woman on the job. I was rehired by the fast food company where I held my very first job, which is not McDonald's. It's a bit higher priced than that, where you could get fried chicken, a hot dog, and a double cheeseburger at the same time. There will be no mention of my child's father because he wasn't there for us. I lived with my eldest sister, who was more like a mom to me, which is why she's mentioned in the story. She was the person I had with me when I had my C-section. She has been the one there for my son every moment of his life. My doctor said if I was going back to work before his recommended 4 to 6 weeks of healing time and rest, that I had to be on light duty and that I was not to lift more than the weight of my son, which was 6 pounds. The story: I was rehired by a fast food company that was always extremely busy at each major point in the day. Lunch made over $800 between noon and 1 p.m. and dinner made over $700 from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Of note, the only reason I was rehired was because hiring manager loved me to pieces. When I left the first time, she told me that I always had a job with her because she loved my work ethic. She said that I was the best worker she had had in years. Nobody ever picked up extra shifts as quickly as I did. Nobody cared to learn as fast as I did. So since I had the previous experience, they wanted me to work lunch rush. But I begged them to let me work dinner. Dinner would allow me to spend quality time with my newborn, and my sister, who I lived with, would be home from her job to take care of my son while I worked. Now, I started a month after my C-section, right? Wrong. I started 2.5 weeks later. If I didn't, I couldn't be hired. I'd actually gone back to my doctor and asked his office to write a full letter explaining my light duty requirements, and took it with me my first day back. I walk into the manager's office, expecting to see my hiring manager, or at least the manager I recognized. Nope. Enter stupid manager, who had worked as an hourly employee at another location and thought she knew better than everyone. I handed stupid manager my doctor's note, and she looked at it like she was holding a dirty baby diaper. I asked her to make sure hiring manager sees it, and she doesn't respond. I shrug it off and walk to the back where the break room was. I saw that all of my coworkers were the same from the last time I'd worked there, and they all crowded around me to see baby photos. I was crying the entire time because it felt like a homecoming. It felt like I was finally surrounded by a support system. Until stupid manager screamed that we needed to get to work when there wasn't even a customer. We all scattered like flies and made ourselves look busy. I'd kept my phone in my pocket before clocking in, and I periodically checked it, always between customers, to make sure nothing had happened to my son while I was gone. I would think most, maybe not all managers would have understood that I hadn't been texting, just quickly checking for new notifications, but not stupid manager. She hated it. She'd been sitting in the office checking the cameras, and I suppose I'd checked my phone one too many times. Yay, postpartum depression and anxiety. Stupid manager came flying around the corner at light speed and stared daggers at me. OP, what the freak do you think you're doing? You can't be on the phone while you're clocked in. You should know this already. Now, I'd never been one to deal well with being yelled at, so I just started saying I was sorry. Some of my coworkers stood up for me, which again made me cry. Stupid manager apparently hated crying too. She turned back to me, shooting the same daggers into my soul. What the freak are you crying about now? Thankfully, a customer walked in, so she just stormed off. I saw red. Within the hour, I'd watched her start getting ready to leave her shift, which I thought was a blessing. Of course, it wasn't. Enter lazy manager who I'd had issues with the last time I'd worked there. Not that I said anything, she just never worked. She sat in the office staring at the cameras, eating food from the line, which the company said is illegal. You don't get free food, you get a discount on food. Did she ever pay for it? Not once. She wrote it off as part of the end of the day throwaway food. I can't remember what it's actually called on the end of day report. Lazy manager saw me and her face fell. Oh, "Hey Hazel," she said with disdain. I put on the sweetest smile and attempted to make small talk with stupid manager, but they made a major mistake. They left the door cracked. And wouldn't you know it, I worked on the side of the line closest to the door where I could hear everything. This is how it went. Lazy manager said, "I thought hiring manager told her no." Stupid manager said, "I guess not. She's been on her phone all day." They say of course she was. She's the worst employee we've ever had. Ugh, I'll call hiring manager and figure this out. I've never disliked someone like I dislike her. Stupid says, "She seems pretty lazy." Oh, here's her pitiful doctor's note. Lazy says, "Haha, we'll see how well that works. It's not like we've never had kids before." Now, that fully pissed me off, but I bit my tongue. I waited for what I knew was coming. I knew exactly what I was going to do, because I was just plain sick of being badmouthed by others. Stupid manager leaves and lazy manager calls me to the office. I was in the middle of making an order, but she is the manager after all. I left that poor person's order sitting right on the line and walked to the office. "Yes, lazy manager?" She doesn't even look up from the computer. "OP, what's this doctor's note for?" I just take my phone out of my pocket and try to show her pictures of my son. They say, "Oh, you had a kid?" in a tone that implied nobody would want to be with me or something. I smile sweetly and nod, a plan working itself out in my head. Fast forward 4 days. Lazy manager hasn't been helping us close the store at all, and I've been getting home after 2 a.m. every day from a place that closes at 10 on weekdays, 11 on weekends. I'm done. My sister can't keep taking care of my child like this, and it's completely unfair. Lazy manager is working again, and we're really busy. I go to put fries in the fryer because our fry cook is busy making chicken tenders. I open the little freezer beside the fryers, and it's empty, which I knew it would be because I never saw anyone put a new box in. Huh, that sucks. "Hey, we're out of fries out here," I yell. No response. "Hey coworkers, fry cook's busy and we need fries out here." Nothing. Odd, oh well. "Hey lazy manager, we need fries out here." Lazy manager opens the office door. "Get them yourself, OP." I walk over to the office and say, "Lazy manager, I can't. My doctor said I can't lift more than 6 pounds. Lazy manager rolls their eyes and looks dead at me. "Look, go get the darn fries out of the freezer now. 2 boxes. I don't care about this 'my doctor said' crap. Do it, and stay the heck off your phone." And there it was, my opportunity for malicious compliance. I walk into the freezer and look at the box of French fries. I really shouldn't. This could be detrimental to my health according to my doctor, but a lazy manager said so. Now, I'd noticed that morning that a couple of my stitches hadn't started dissolving yet, so I'd already called and scheduled an appointment about 2 weeks early. This was all lining up perfectly. I grabbed that fry box on the bottom shelf and shifted it where I could read its weight. I wasn't supposed to be on my phone, but she obviously couldn't see me in the freezer. I snapped a picture of the box. I sent it to my sister with the message, "Manager told me I have no choice but to do this myself. Doesn't believe my doctor's note at all. Can't respond. She won't let me use my phone anymore either." I made sure the message was sent and then switched my phone off, grabbed that fry box and lifted it and carried it to the little freezer 20 feet away. I'll say one thing for adrenaline, it definitely works to numb the pain until it wears off. I felt a wetness in my pants and excused myself to the break room. Not the bathroom, that was too private for this. I turned where the cameras couldn't see me and looked at my pants. Blood. I was bleeding, but from where? Oh, that's right, the stitches that hadn't started healing yet. But there was another pain I'd never experienced. I walked to lazy manager with a napkin covered in blood. Thankfully, the line wasn't anywhere near the office. I would never contaminate someone's food. Because, of course, I try to stop the bleeding. I was immediately sent home to my sister, who was in a severe panic over the message. I called my doctor's office with 10 minutes to spare and explained the situation, and was scheduled for the following day, and told to go to the hospital if the bleeding continued. My sister and I bandaged me up to the best of our ability, and I waited for my appointment. When my doctor found out why I still picked up that fry box, he sounded more like a concerned father figure when he said, "I'll handle it." But I assured him I had it myself. All I needed from him was a doctor's note. You see, I'd found out that hiring manager, who was also the store manager, who was lined up to become district manager, had come back from vacation. She was actually scheduled for the following day, and I was supposed to work. I waddled into that store in uniform, doctor's note clutched in one hand, the other grabbing every solid surface it could to absorb some of the shock of movement. She took one look at me and guided me to a chair in the break room, concern written all over her face. "Hazel, what happened?" So I told her everything. She asked me if I ever gave either manager a doctor's note, and I said that I had. She couldn't find it, but she didn't need to. What a lazy manager and stupid manager didn't know was that my sister had a printer that could scan documents. And we had a weird feeling that we would need a copy of the first doctor's note, so not only did I have a new note clutched in my hand, but stapled to it was a copy of the original note that told the managers that I was supposed to be on light duty, because if I ripped a stitch, it could lengthen my healing process. The new note explained that since I was not given light duty, I not only ripped a stitch, but pulled a few muscles in my lower body. When hiring manager read both notes, she was furious. She checked the schedule, and when she saw neither of the other managers were working, she called them both in for a meeting. She asked me if I would stay for said meeting, and that I could sit in the office in her comfy desk chair while we waited. I took that seat and waited for the show. 30 minutes later, hiring manager was giving them an earful, telling them they had no right to disregard doctor's orders, and that they should have never have told me to stop being on my phone. Turns out hiring manager had worked for this establishment when she had her youngest child, so she knew the anxiety of being away from a newborn for too long. I watched stupid manager get fired on the spot, but not lazy manager. Lazy manager was demoted to line cook because hiring manager told her she needed to relearn some humility. She worked as a line cook at another store for about a month and then was fired for stealing food. I gotta give it to OP, they committed harder here than I ever would've. But also, hey, I'm Steven, and if you're enjoying these malicious compliance stories, why not hit that subscribe button down below? That said, our final story of the day is from Soldalhausen. My IT director's emails look awfully suspicious. 3 months ago, my company had a 2-hour-long seminar about email phishing and how to prevent it. This seminar also included an update to our email software. Our software has a preview feature. If you hover over a link, it opens a preview of the link. Anyway, I got an email from our IT director saying I was in violation of their internet policy by using social media, a main part of my job, and I was stupid and opened it. It was a phishing test, and they made me do another 2-hour-long seminar. That week, I get the following email from our director, sent with high importance, subject, phishing email test. Hello everyone, this is a reminder to stay aware of phishing emails. Please review the PDF guide and take a short quiz, link, to test your skills by 5 p.m. Thank you, IT Director's name. Now, on this email attachment, one of the signs to report an email is if it's pressuring you to click a link. So I feel like I should report this as phishing, so I did. I get this email from the director 1 hour later. Subject, reporting emails. Hello everyone, we've received numerous phishing reports about the email about the phishing quiz. Please note any email sent from insert IT director email here is not phishing. We've included a new link for your convenience. Thank you, IT director name. Now to me, this email looks even more suspicious than the last one, so I do the natural thing and report it to Stay Vigilant. I've been doing this for over 2 months, and everyone keeps getting an email saying that this email is not phishing. Please don't make us sit through 2-hour seminars. I mean, it's one thing if you have 2-hour seminars that are like mandated by HR or even like a legal thing, like a workplace harassment type thing. Sure, it seems logical and seems unavoidable, but this is like as a kid being woken up an extra 2 hours early before school to have a whole seminar about how you need to tie your shoes before you leave. It's like we get it, it's common sense. How much can you really go over in 2 hours anyways? But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another awesome compliance story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out the video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.